you had such a journey, Krista, and you know, like you're definitely the person to talk about not doing something, the same thing forever. There's a lot of people who are really afraid of like changing and moving a career or something like that. Let's talk a little bit about doing the same thing forever. And is it a purpose thing, or is it a like a fear of change thing? Where do you see it from?
Yeah, great question. I mean, it obviously depends on the person, but like, the end of the day, we get one go at this life. And if
Mhm.
you're in a career or a job where you're miserable and you're just there, I mean, I know we all need to pay bills and everything, but there are like, especially now since the pandemic, there are like a million and one ways to earn an income online. And
Mhm.
so you can either just be grumpy and frumpy and all of the things and just stay where you're at, or you can reach out to people and
Right.
figure out some other options, something that's more aligned with who you are. And I always invite people to take like the human design test to see like
Mm.
what your human design is and what things that light you up and what your passions are. Um, Jen Russman introduced me to the human design. I'm a manifesting generator. So
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, it's, the life is too short to do anything that makes you unhappy. You should be doing things that make you happy, that you feel fulfilled. And I just remember those days when I was, it was probably 10 years into the pharmaceutical company. And I would like be looking at my 401k and collecting my paycheck and going, okay, this is the age I will retire. And I'm like,
Mm.
I can barely get to Friday. And I can't imagine like doing this for like 20 more years.
Well, yeah.
Right.
You'll just burn out and then you're not going to really enjoy life and, do things. But there's so many things you can even do alongside like a regular job. Like the work that I do, I have wellness partners on my team who just work this 5, 6 hours a week, earning
Mm.
an extra $500 a month, pays for some groceries. And then, you just never know where that might lead. But there
Right.
are plenty of people in MRA doing full time incomes. In fact, making way more than my manager at Pfizer
Wow.
is.
Wow.
Mm.
So you know what the number one most Googled question or term, and I think it was either in the last year or the last 2 years. You know what it
Yeah.
was?
How to make money from home.
Yeah, how to make money from home, how to have an online business, because like
Mhm.
that's the thing, especially
That's where
nowadays.
we're moving.
Yeah, and Jeremy
It's
and
a
I were just
waste of
talking about
time
this.
driving places and you
Yeah,
don't need to like be in boardrooms and like you can do Zoom.
right. And
Yeah.
Jeremy and I were talking about this last night about how the way education is going, people are waking up and realizing that, and no offense to anybody in college or anybody that went to college or believes in college, but college is no longer as valuable as it used to be. And if you really, and you look back and you see when was the modern day school system established the way it was, it was during the Industrial Revolution because it needed factory workers. But before that, everybody was entrepreneurs. You had your tailor, you had your butcher, you had your baker, everybody was entrepreneurs. So, and then we got programmed to do this kind of like mass way of living. And so there's a huge fear. I'm not
Mm.
negating that. There's a huge fear of going full on into entrepreneurship. Right now I'm holding on to my day job of teaching because there's this massive pivot, so to speak, that would have to be made to go into full-time coaching. And thank God for Yermi, because he's helping me make that transition slowly and smoothly.
Nice.
But and I think that the thing is that we all have to be aware, just aware of what's going on in our life and what directions we're being led. Because I think I was either telling you this the other night or I was telling somebody else that a number of years ago I saw myself wanting to be an educational consultant, working with schools, working to build up schools. And I wanted it now. I wanted it right away, but it just never led that way. And
Mhm.
we also knew that, my family, we wanted to get out of New York, but we never found the right opportunity. But we knew that I wanted to be an educational consultant, and we knew we wanted to be out of New York. So what happens is, this year we ended up moving to Dallas because of my son. So God got us out of New York, which is the first step. And now certain things are presenting themselves as opportunities for me to finally be that role of that educational consultant. Now, I thought it was going to be here in the school where I'm at now, which is a brand new startup school. And I thought that this would be the school that I get to help build from the ground up. But there's certain opportunities that are in other places that are popping up. And it's okay. So maybe that's actually what the school I'm really helped to really build. But God needed to get me out of New York first, because otherwise I wouldn't have gone to that other place where they're
Yeah.
building the school. So, this whole thing of pivoting and not doing the same thing forever, it's that slow process, and then just being aware, like you were talking about, being aware of what is your body telling you, being present and in the moment. And okay, what am I thinking right now? What am I feeling internally, not externally? But it's also like with those life decisions, it's okay, what can I notice around me? What are the puzzle pieces that are coming together? Because again, your story is very clear. The transitions were there. It was step by step by step, but you could never have planned it so perfectly.
Right.
No.
It had
And
to happen.
and it's like when you release the how, like if there's something you want to manifest in your life or call in, like
Mhm.
whatever that thing is, like you have to just release to the universe, to God, whoever, the how. Like, how's
Yeah.
this
Right.
all going to happen? Like,
Right.
you can't get, in those details. Just trust that this is what you want and it'll
Right.
manifest, but it may not
100%.
look like you're thinking it's going to look like.
Yeah. I mean, it's also a whole other discussion about, people who are stuck in their jobs. They're becoming miserable in their jobs. A big part about, like what I do is that first you need to find happiness in your own in whatever it is that you're doing, because you're going to hear a lot of people and they're going to say, oh, if I only had this kind of job, or if only I had this, if only I had that, then I'll be happy. Well, guess what? It's actually through your happiness that you're going to get that thing. So you kind of have to work on happiness, and it shouldn't be tied to anything in the future. um so with that being said, there is a very, very fine line of when you leave your job and how you leave your job and all these different things, because at the end of the day, yeah, we do need to pay our bills. And I know too many people who left their jobs and got careers in whatever other profession it was, because hey, those professions are do well and everything, but not long later they were miserable in that job, because again, they didn't listen to their gut, or they didn't listen, or they didn't do, we spoke about it, the 7 whys. They didn't do different things of like how to find that real true purpose and that meaning and that fulfillment. So there's so many um, steps to just leaving a job. And in your description, you really described your story, that you found that and you graduated, let's call it, out of your job. So you're still involved with health. Clearly, health means something to you. You understand it to a certain degree. But it was through NAMI, and it was through those volunteer stuff, and it was through all these things that you found your, I guess, your journey out of the job. And I think there are just a lot of people who are not courageous enough to take that step. And that's what Bark and I, that's a big thing of what we do and what we try to help people try to find that courage from within, um, to transition in a smart way, either find a better job, or anything that really brings that meaning and purpose. And that's what this whole discussion is about. Um, so people don't have to do the same thing forever. That's the good news. But it does take intention in a sense. My whole transition out of my job was very intentional. I was just lucky to have a really great boss who turns out a guy I grew up with and a good close friend of mine. So he knew me and he knew my vision, and the entire job, the entire 8 years that I was working there, was in a sense a transition phase for me, towards where I wanted to be. And he supported it, and he allowed it, and he opened up the doors that I needed. But that's just being lucky to have that kind of job. Not too many people have that. But in a sense, we have to set up our life that is very intentional and to find that direction.